Okay, great. Hi, everyone. Thank you for waiting with us. My name is Tiara. Once again, I'm a hotline specialist here at Housing Court Answers. Today, we're going to have a presentation about HomeBase, and it's going to be presented by HelpUSA's Assistant Executive Director, Melissa Lopez, as well as the Case Manager Supervisor for Intake, Julissa Perez. The presentation will cover the overall HomeBase program. Please ensure that your microphones remain muted during the presentation. The presentation will probably be about maybe up to 2 hours, and we will answer all the questions at the end of the presentation. In the meantime, if you do have questions, you can drop them in the chat, and then we'll collect them at the end to answer them. This workshop will just be recorded, and it will if you want your cameras on, you can have them on. If not, then that's okay. And I'll turn it over to the presenters, Melissa and Julissa. Thank you once again.
All right, hi, everybody. Oh, sorry, Drew. Go ahead.
It's okay. Go ahead. Go ahead.
Hi, everybody. I am Melissa Lopez, the Assistant Executive Director for HelpUSA HomeBase Bronx Service Area 2. We service 6 zip codes throughout the Bronx, which include 10453, 10463, 10467, 68, 70, and 71.
So like she mentioned earlier, I'm Julissa Perez. I'm the Intake Case Management Supervisor. We're just gonna jump right in. We are a community-based prevention rental assistance program. We help diversion from DHS intake and also support after. Home-based services include eviction prevention services, clients who are in housing court or are at risk of facing eviction or at risk of being sent to housing court benefit from our services. Both short-term emergency financial assistance funding can be provided, as well as ongoing assistance. Assistance obtaining and maintaining public benefits is also something that we assist with, whether that's assisting the client with getting public assistance or food stamps or an ongoing program to assist them with future rent and back arrears. Financial counseling is also something that we assist with. Landlord and family mediation. Sometimes client may come with issues with the landlord that can easily be resolved, at which point we can step in and mediate to de-escalate the situation prior to entering housing court. We also offer employment services and referrals to clients. We actually have a HelpWorks office. We also reach out to other organizations that can possibly assist clients as well. We link clients to the other community services, some that we may not mention, however, it would depend on the client's situation. We have many resources. Apartment search assistance is also provided. We have housing specialists, and we also have many connections with landlords and brokers that we've built throughout the years to ensure that clients have the ability to move if they need to. We assess for subsidies, as mentioned earlier, and counseling. We also assist with transfers, renewals, modifications, anything that has to do with a program that we can assist with. One thing to note is that HomeBase is a last resort of payee. So when clients are in need of financial assistance, HomeBase will first refer clients to apply for a one-shot deal or other charitable organizations in an attempt to reduce the arrears so that we can then work with the client with the remainder. HomeBase services both families and with children and single adults and adult families. All households are assessed based on program requirements. There are 3 main requirements that clients need to meet, and that is income eligibility. They have to have risk of homelessness and benefits. Community prevention clients, which is basically clients who are in the community who may possibly not have a program that assists them with ongoing rent. Household total income must be at or below the income threshold. Families with children have to meet the 200% federal poverty level, while single adults and adult families must meet the 30% AMI. All aftercare households are eligible if they exited from a DHS shelter with a rental assistance subsidy or other subsidized housing, such as NYCHA Section 8, also City FEBS and FEBS, MOT. Clients who are found ineligible for home-based services are referred to other community-based organizations for assistance, whether that's for rental arrears, housing, employment, or just one-child DSR HRA, or even public assistance. There are 3 different levels of services at HomeBase. The first one being housing advice and assistance. If a client does not meet full eligibility criteria, they are served at an advice level, meaning that they are provided with referrals and guidance on how to resolve their situation. We try not to leave anyone empty-handed. We try to provide support no matter what kind of services are being offered. We also have full services available where clients who meet the criteria for imminent risk of housing instability are provided a full array of home-based services on specific assessed needs. So therefore, any client who comes into our office and falls under this category, we would try our best to resolve their case. Compliance is very important. Clients do have to do their part in order for us to be able to assist. It is a two-way street. And finally, we have the intensive cases. These are more in-depth cases. Clients who meet this criteria demonstrate a significant need for ongoing services. They may need more support than a regular full case. These are individuals who may possibly be transitioning into the community from shelters. These are clients who may have some kind of mental health or substance abuse or domestic violence, who need that more in-depth assistance. This is the home-based map. This is, we're only within the 5 boroughs, as you can see. So every borough has many different zip codes, and these zip codes are separated by organizations. These are all home-based offices, however, there's different branches. So if you have a client who needs the assistance, you would have to first figure out what zip code they're in and narrow down which office covers that zip code. So this is basically the main map with contact information for each home-based office. We do everything we can to prevent vulnerable households from becoming homeless. Of course, sometimes there can be things that we can't do. However, that's when we reach out to other organizations. Emergency assistance, such as short-term financial assistance to cover arrears and prevent eviction, is something that we can try to provide. Again, clients have to go apply for a one-shot deal if their arrears are excessive. Maybe other charitable organizations may have to step in and also contribute. Help is available for other emergency needs, such as assistance with home energy or utility bills to keep their power on. Melissa, would you like to give another example of something else that we assist with aside from? I think your microphone.
I thought I unmuted. When it comes to the financial assistance, we've done financial assistance to assist clients also that may not be able to go to a doctor because they're living on a high floor and they can't walk down the stairs. We've gone to the point of asking a landlord if he can put a chair lift so that this way this elderly person can go in and out and be able to go to doctor's appointments and be in the community and not just stay at home because they're not able to walk down the stairs. They approved it, so we were able to put that in. We also provide assistance with OSHA certificates if we need to assist with home health aid classes or some type of nursing, something that would assist the client with becoming stable and self-sufficient within the community and remain in their homes.
If a family has an emergency situation and has no money to buy food, the family can apply for same-day SNAP benefits and possibly qualify for expedited SNAP benefits within 5 days. Food pantries are also available where we may refer the client for immediate assistance with food. There are 3 ways in which a home-based referral can be provided for a client. The first way is by going on the HomeBase map, as I mentioned earlier, confirming the code, figuring out which office specifically takes care of that zip code, and then referring to that location using the phone number on the map. You can also go on the HRA website and look up HomeBase offices. It's going to be a very similar map, just more specific to zip codes and boroughs, where you can use the same process, narrow down and look up the office and contact the office to schedule the client for an appointment. You can also call 311 and figure out which office is the correct office for the client. It is strongly encouraged for clients to reach out to the office before visiting. Clients should call to schedule an appointment in order to complete an intake assessment. The intake assessment is the first step to determine if a client qualifies for services, and it'll give us a better understanding of what kind of situation the client is in order to determine how we can help the client. As mentioned earlier, these are the zip codes that our specific office covers. We're home-based service area 2, where we are at 815 Burke Avenue and 1981 Sedgwick Avenue, and we cover 10453, 10463, 10468, 10470, and 10471. And the website below is the email where you guys can reach out if you would like to refer a client or would like more information or clarity. Clients are also welcome to email this email to try to get the receptionist to schedule an appointment. These are direct contact information for the executive director, both assistant executive directors, Leja Martin Rivera and Melissa Lopez, and myself, who is the intake supervisor. Please note that you guys can email the email in the previous slide. My apologies. Let me just go right back to it. You guys can email this address. It's recommended to provide supporting documents that we can utilize. You can hear?
Yeah, I hear you now.
Okay. If you email this address, please ensure to provide any core documents or any supporting documents that can assist the client. We do schedule clients based on crisis. It is important to provide supporting documents so that we know how and when to schedule the client. Post evicts and notice of evictions take priority. Other appointments will depend on where the client is in their housing crisis. That's pretty much it on the side of the presentation. We can open the floor now to all questions.
Hi, I noticed that there were some questions and I was writing them down so this way I can better explain. So I saw a question which indicated, what does community prevention cases mean? So community prevention cases are those cases that are enrolled for home-based services that don't have a rental assistance program, and they're just looking for help with whatever risk of homelessness that they have. And then the aftercare cases. Aftercare cases are cases of those clients who, like Julissa said, exited shelter from 2014 and on with a rental assistance program, or after they have been enrolled as community prevention and we assess them to see if they may qualify for city FEPs or FEPs, then they become aftercare clients. Any other questions on that one?
I could jump in. Oh, sorry, this is Sarah from Housing Coordinator. So just there was a question about, so the assistance for utility bills, is it like payment of the bill, like HomeBase arranges payment of the bill, or do they make referrals to someone else?
Okay, so I'll answer that as well. As Julissa stated, HomeBase is the last payee of resort. I'm going to give you an example. Coalition for the Homeless, they have their eligibility requirements, and their eligibility requirements are not the same as ours to provide financial assistance should the client need some assistance with reducing the rent arrears. HomeBase, you have to meet eligibility requirements such as the risk assessment score and income eligibility. We're the last payer of resort, so of course we do refer them out to Human Resources Administration to request a one-shot deal or a special grant. And they must have the future ability to pay the rent or the utilities moving forward.
Right, that makes sense.
Okay.
Yeah, and I think the question about what does community prevention mean, that got answered. Okay, we had another question. You provide short-term financial assistance to cover rent arrears. Can you explain in depth how can one apply, or what is the procedure for the assistance?
So once again, we're the last payee of resort. Therefore, they have to meet the eligibility requirements for HomeBase. When we state we provide short-term financial assistance, we do assess to see if they are eligible for a rental assistance program. And if they are eligible for FEPS, they're referred out to HRA to apply for a FEPS to stay in order to preserve the apartment. And if they're eligible for city FEPS, we submit the applications, and we would possibly submit a commitment letter just to assist with the rent arrears that is owed, whether it's 10,000, 20,000, 30,000, 5,000. That's some type of assistance that we could give. And if they don't meet eligibility for any of the rental assistance programs, we do refer out to HRA. Should they have the ability to pay the rent moving forward, they need to apply for a one-shot deal. We'll also provide a commitment letter to assist so that this way the HRA can approve them should they need to reduce the arrears. So it's a one-time payment. It's not something that's ongoing.
Right, that makes sense. Let's see. So there were a couple questions. So somebody had asked, does this information hold for all of the city or just for the Bronx home bases? I mean, from the map, it looks like you're describing home base policy for all of New York City.
HomeBase is contracted by HRA. So all the home bases have a source book that they need to follow. Now, for every organization, they might have extra programs within their organization, but as for HomeBase, they need to follow the source book that's provided to them by the Human Resources Administration.
Oh, interesting. And somebody wanted to see the slide again with the contact list.
Information. Drew, can you put it up for them?
There's one up right now. Is that the one that we were referring to, or the one with our specific contact information?
With our contact information. Mine, Marisol's, Eli's, and yours. I think it was like the last page. Yeah.
Another question, can the borough president's office caseworkers send referrals directly to the directors of HomeBase?
Yes. And we would just give it to the program assistant to reach out to the client, should the client fall under our zip codes.
I would suggest that everyone on the direct contact information be included. That way, if I see the email first, I'll send it over to the receptionist. If I'm out, at least someone else can make sure that the referral gets to the right hands.
Okay, another question. Is HomeBase able to help with apartment searches once a client gets a housing voucher? any guidance to how we can help find legitimate brokers or landlords who accept the vouchers or Section 8?
We do receive some notices, of course, from brokers that we have built relationships with. Some landlords possibly, we put a list together and we would give it to the client to reach out to them and let them know that they were provided with their information by our office. We don't go out and do the apartment searches ourselves. But if we do get a lead, we try our best to provide it to the client so that this way they can reach out to the broker, the landlord, or whoever it is.
Right. And somebody asked if you could return to the slide with the eligibility requirements. And in the meantime, another question, do you offer assistance to non-citizens at your site? And if so, what services could they have access to?
So for the non-citizens, if there is anyone in the household that's residing with them and they are citizens, we can. If they're not citizens, they won't meet eligibility. So what we would do is probably give them an outside source that can possibly assist them.
Thank you. So is HomeBase the only agency that can refer someone for a city FEPS voucher? And maybe it would be good just to clarify for everybody what the city FEPS voucher is.
Okay, so the city FEPS voucher. The city FEPS voucher is a voucher that in order to meet the eligibility requirements, and please don't quote me because it changes almost every other day. They have to have previous shelter history, be facing eviction within the last 12 months, or reside in a rent controlled apartment, which there are very few in the city of New York nowadays, be a veteran, or meet eligibility requirements for adult protective services. And that's for right now. The other way someone can possibly be eligible is if they're referred by the DHS PATH diversion unit. And this is more so for families with children who try to enter shelter, but they meet with them at the resource room and they assess to see if they're possibly able to stay with a friend or a family member in the meantime until they can secure an apartment, but they still have to meet the 200 federal poverty level income eligibility requirement.
Okay. And so HomeBase is, well, I guess, okay, so HomeBase is kind of the place where people get screened for those vouchers, and also, if I'm correct, HomeBase is where people manage those vouchers once they have them?
Yes, we process the applications. Should they secure an apartment or should they need to preserve the apartment because they're facing eviction? When it comes for city FEPS. For FEPS, we only do FEPS to move applications. We do not do FEPS to stay application. That comes directly from HRA.
Okay. That was actually a question that I had, whether HomeBase does screening for FEPS to begin with, or if you generally tell people you need to go to HRA to be screened for.
Well, we screen, of course, because if the client doesn't have an active public assistance case, we all know that they're not eligible for FEPS until then, and they must have children under the age of 18, correct? So in order for that to happen, we do assess for that. Sometimes when we get clients who meet the housing advice criteria that Julissa explained earlier, and we see that they have children that are under the age of 18 and facing eviction, but no full PA case and no real income coming into the household, we do refer them to HRA to apply for a full public assistance case so that then they can request the FEPS rental assistance program.
And I can't speak for other home-based offices, however, our office, we have the intake workers immediately screen the clients when they come for their intake assessment. So like she said, if we notice that it's a family with children, they have public assistance, they're at risk of being evicted, we can then give them a referral to go to HRA to apply for that FEPS.
Okay, thank you. Let's see, another question from the chat. If HomeBase assists with one-time arrears, will a voucher be offered to further assist the client?
So we assess first to see if the client is eligible for a voucher. If they are eligible for the voucher, we do refer them to the rental assistance program. And like I stated earlier, we would give a commitment letter for city FEPS clients. We don't assist with FEPS rental assistance. It falls under the same budget. So
Okay.
yeah.
And another question, is HRA's source book for the HomeBase program accessible to the public? And if so, where can it be found?
No, it is not accessible to the public. That's something that they would have to speak to the leadership team at the Homeless Prevention and Community Support Team.
Okay. And can other elected officials' offices give referrals to
We
HomeBase?
get referrals from elected official offices every single day. Safe Horizons, Community District 12, 14. And we try to make sure that they're under our zip codes. And if not, we would provide them with the information as to what home base they would need to reach out to.
Okay. Oh, and then just a follow-up, what you had mentioned about the citizenship issue. Did your explanation, does that apply for all home-based locations or just specifically your home-based location?
I can only answer for HelpUSA, home-based service area 2. I don't know what the other home bases do, but I know that in order to meet the eligibility requirement, they need to be put into the care system, and risk assessment questionnaire is answered, and depending on the risk assessment score, then we can determine eligibility. But as for the undocumented, they usually don't meet the eligibility requirements. Back
Right.
COVID times, we had the parachute program, but that program is no longer available.
Any information regarding a letter given from PATH to obtain a voucher?
A letter from PATH. Like I stated, if let's say a family goes into PATH to try to enter shelter, they meet with the staff over there in the resource room. The resource room will question them to see if they have a friend or a family member they can stay with. And then they are referred to our office. We receive a referral from DHS PATH directly to us so that we can schedule the client and assess to see if they are eligible indeed for the voucher, making sure that they meet that 200 federal poverty level income eligibility requirement.
Okay. Another question, does a tenant need to be going through housing court to be eligible for HomeBase services?
At this time, they need to provide verification that they are at risk of homelessness.
Okay.
It doesn't necessarily need to be eviction, because like we stated earlier, we do service aftercare clients who come to the office seeking a good cause transfer, a modification to a case, a RAP increase, a renewal to be processed, and so on and so forth. And usually, they don't come in with an eviction notice or any of the above.
Right. Oh, and there's a question, would we have access to this video after the meeting? Yes, the video for this presentation will be available on the Housing Court Answers website after today. Is the EHV program opening anytime soon? I'm not sure what EHV stands for, but I'm guessing you do. And
So EHV is Emergency Housing Voucher Program that was open through Section 8 for quite some time back in 2021 till September of 22, if I'm not mistaken, where we submitted referrals to the NYCHA portal to see if clients can obtain the Section 8 program. As of right now, we have not received any notice that this will be opening again. However, if it does, I am 100% sure everybody will be aware. And she also asked about the nice clients. And once again, if you know there are if there are family members in the household that are citizens of the United States and meet the eligibility requirements, we do assess. If not, we do provide the outside resources that there possibly is.
Great. Okay. Once a referral to HomeBase is sent, how soon will the caller be contacted? Is an interpreter available if needed? Great question. And
I can answer the question for HomeBase Service Area 2, although HelpUSA is part HomeBase 3 is part of HelpUSA. Honestly speaking, we do have a language line, but we also do have if they're Spanish speaking, of course, we do have interpreters in office. If they speak other languages, we do have a language line where we'll get an interpreter to be on the call to schedule, and then schedule an appointment, and then when they come into the appointment, we'll call them again so that this way they're on the call with us, on the line with us while we're conducting the assessment.
And in regard to getting a response, we usually give 24 to 48 hours to respond to a referral, just so we reach out to the client and make sure that we can schedule that appointment for the client.
great. All right, next question. If we refer a client to HomeBase who is homebound, elderly, or disabled, do you make ADA, that's Americans with Disabilities Act, accommodations for them, or can a phone intake be done?
We do virtual intake assessments for clients who are homebound. The client does have to let us know, and we'll schedule an intake worker to call at a specific time. It is recommended for the client to provide the documents via email so that we can assess properly whether that's the court document or anything to help us understand the situation.
Okay. Oh, interesting. Does HomeBase do anything, or do they have any resources for homeowners?
Well, if it depends if they're going into foreclosure and any of that sort of. Honestly speaking, we don't service homeowners, but if they do have a tenant that they're trying to get assistance with, of course we do.
Right, because the tenant getting assistance with the rent puts more money into the building overall. Makes sense. Let's see. Oh, another question. Okay, you mentioned that a list is provided to clients who are looking for housing. With brokers and landlords you have developed a rapport with, is that checked and updated frequently?
I would say yes. A majority of the landlords and brokers we deal with, we've been dealing with for quite some time. So, and then when we do get new ones, we do make sure that they're not, trying just to scam the clients or whatever the case is. We do advise clients and let them know that they do not need to pay anything up front. And when I say not pay anything up front, there's a broker fee that's paid by HRA if it's for city FEPs or FEPs, as well as when we were doing the EHV program and the HCR program, which is Section 8, we would also get the broker fee and the security vouchers taken care of through HRA.
Great. All right, next question. If a person was in shelter and is now living on in someone's home and sleeping on the couch, will they be available or eligible for a city FEPS voucher?
That's the $1 million question. They do have to meet the eligibility requirements that are in the NewYorkCity.gov website for city FEPS, if they are a single or adult family. And if there are families with children, they have to meet the eligibility requirement as well, or possibly get a referral from DHS PATH indicating that they're doubled up and they need assistance.
Okay. Yeah, that I could tell that was an interesting question.
And it's interesting. I'm sorry, Sarah. The reason why I say it's interesting is because a lot of people go to HRA, they call 311, and they tell them their situation, and they end up coming here stating, I was told I can come get a voucher. However, that is not the case. They have to meet the eligibility requirements that are in place by the city. And yeah.
Next question. What other organizations are available for Manhattan residents who have rent arrears?
Manhattan, when it comes to home bases, there's only services for the underserved. So they have one organization out there. Whereas in the Bronx, Brooklyn, Queens, and Staten Island has CAMBA. There's only one in Staten Island. But Bronx, Brooklyn, Queens have several organizations that have home-based services.
Okay. And maybe I would just chime in that people can also call Housing Court Answers if it's just a question of rent arrears, then people can call Housing Court Answers and we can do an arrears screening to see what other charities might be out there in the area. Okay, another home-based question. Who do we reach out to if our local home-based office is not following proper protocol?
Well, it depends. I mean, if it's someone trying to reach out to a worker from our office and they're not getting a response, then of course you would reach out to us, the leadership team, that was listed on that sheet, and we'll follow up. But if it's a home-based office that's not this office, then, sometimes, I don't know if any of you are aware of homeless prevention and this homeless prevention and community support team at HRA.
Okay. Thank you. Oh, and of course, I forgot. Somebody asked, how can Housing Court Answers be reached? I'll give our hotline number. It's 212-962-4795. And that's arrear screenings, just questions about housing court. Yeah. Oh, and somebody put in the chat. So helpful. Okay. Just, I guess another question I had is also about city FEPS. So I understand that there's the screening that happens to see if somebody's eligible for it, and then people put in some work to making the voucher happen. And then once somebody has the voucher, could you maybe describe the process that they need to follow to keep the voucher? Because, I mean, if I understand correctly, a person could have it, for more than 1 year, but I imagine they need to do income recertifications. I think I heard that the income requirements change after the first year. So if you could maybe share about that, that would be helpful.
Absolutely. So, of course, with FEPS, in order to maintain the subsidy, you have to have an active public assistance case and a child under the age of 18, so that this way it can continue. During recertification process, I'm guessing that's how they make sure that they're still residing in that same apartment. And if the rent increases like every year, as we are aware, public assistance does their recertification. As for city FEPS has to be renewed on a yearly basis. Clients are supposed to receive a renewal about 90 days in advance before their subsidy ends, so that they can begin working on getting the documentation that they need to submit these renewals so that HRA can process. A majority of the time, the clients come to the office and we can assist them with submitting the renewals via email directly to the RAP team, or sometimes the clients take it upon themselves to mail it in or go down to 16th Street and try to submit it. Honestly speaking, mailing it in and trying to submit it on their own can cause them to lose their program. Why? And even through even through HomeBase, sometimes we submit these renewals in time and they're still not renewed for whatever reason. It's overlooked, or HRA is overwhelmed with a whole bunch of renewals and so on and so forth. But once we submit it, it's out of our hands. What we do is we'll send follow-up emails, because now it's getting to the point where the client is accruing the arrears that they're accruing, and next process, of course, would be them being served with a rent demand and so on and so forth. The subsidy is supposed to be for 5 years for each client, except for those clients who are over the age of 60 and need the subsidy. And they must meet the 250% federal poverty level when it comes to having the subsidy and having to renew it.
Thank you for describing that process, and also the tip about having HomeBase help with the renewal. Another,
Honestly, it even when we send it, there's a delay.
I would always recommend for the clients to come months in advance to even schedule an appointment. If a renewal is due in August, I would recommend the client come months before to schedule that appointment to make sure that that renewal is submitted with ample time to allow the program to process and approve. Many clients come on the day that it expires or after it expires, which makes it difficult to get that renewal and avoid eviction or avoid housing crisis.
I think the reason why they do allegedly send out the renewals 90 days in advance is because I believe as a tenant, our right, if I'm not mistaken, is to obtain a lease renewal 90 days in advance before it expires, so that we can determine if we're going to stay in the apartment or not. So usually clients come in and they don't have the lease renewal, and when we submit it without the new lease renewal, the new amounts don't go on, and it becomes where the client needs to do a RAP increase, and that takes a while to happen. It doesn't happen from one day to another, because once again, that's done by Human Resources Administration. We're just pretty much the liaison between HRA and the client.
okay. And sorry, what does RAP stand for?
Rental Assistance Program.
Oh, thank you. And to go back to another question, so the city FEPS, I remember reading at some point that the city council had voted to modify it so that in the second year, the income threshold changed. But I don't know if that's one of the changes where it hasn't actually become reality yet. Is it true that the income threshold goes up in the second year, or is that not true for the moment?
I don't know. I can't answer that for you. I'm gonna be honest with you. I just know that they need to meet that eligibility requirement of the 250% federal poverty level after they have the subsidy.
Okay. Thank you.
There's a lot of things that the city council has put in place and so on and so forth, and we're not fully aware of it as of yet. So once we get from the leadership team at PCS, then we know how to move around.
Okay. Sorry, I have more questions. So with Section 8, for example, in order to continue, for the payments to continue going to the landlord, there's an inspection requirement. An apartment needs to pass a Section 8 inspection, and if it doesn't, because, for example, if the landlord doesn't make repairs, that landlord could stop receiving Section 8 money, which sometimes ends up being a reason somebody ends up in housing court. With things like the FEPS voucher, city FEPS voucher, is there also an inspection component to it? Or is it just, tenants submit their recertifications year after year and it's all just income based?
The only time there is an inspection completed is at the point of client moving in. So in order for us to submit these applications to HRA for FEPS to move and city FEPS to move, there is an apartment registration that needs to be completed through the city. The city tells us if it passes or it fails or whatever it is. And then we can schedule an inspection to make sure that the apartment is habitable. And then we process the application. As for renewals, inspections being done, no, there isn't inspections done. However, if the client has repairs and they need assistance with repairs, we do provide mediation services between the landlord and the client so that this way we can advocate for them to see if these repairs can be done. And if the client feels that they don't live in a habitable apartment, that's when they come to us to submit a good cost transfer. We do a home inspection, a virtual home inspection, and we would submit the good cost transfer. Of course, we do check HPD to make sure to see if there are any violations to the apartment so that when we submit these good cost transfers, HRA can review it and either approve it or deny it. Very small amount of denials we have received in the last couple of years.
Right. Yeah, that's definitely an interesting difference between the programs. We have another question. What is a virtual home inspection?
Oh, we go on a Zoom. Since COVID happened, we go on a Zoom. However, if it's a client that doesn't have access to any of this, we'll go do an in-person home visit just to see what repairs are needed or just to make sure that, they are living in habitable conditions.
21st century.
Post-COVID.
Yeah. Hey.
With the question. Oh, we got one more.
Ooh, yes. Once HomeBase passes along the documents for a client to a housing specialist, what does the housing specialist do?
So the housing specialist would review the documents to make sure that we have everything in place that's required to submit the application. And of course, like I stated, there has to be a pre-clearance. If the pre-clearance is in there and it passes, the housing specialist would reach out either to the agent, landlord, broker, whoever it is that they need to reach out to schedule the inspection so that it can be completed. and then it's
Oh,
submitted.
and the question was, what is the pre-clearance?
The pre-clearance is the apartment registration through the city of New York. It goes through HPD. The DHS pre-clearance unit reviews it and determines if that apartment is able to be inspected, and or if it fails because of whatever reasons, such as HPD violations, lead violation or something like that. So it lets HomeBase know that this apartment is not ready to be rented out.
Oh, very interesting. Okay. Let's see. So I don't see any more questions in the chat. I am kind of curious if you just had any anecdotes to share about, because I didn't realize that HomeBase could do things other than voucher screening and emergency arrears assistance. Like for example, I didn't realize that you helped out with um, backed up utility bills, or there were a few other things that were just surprising. I don't know if you had any examples to share, things
So
that
as I
could sort of
stated,
illustrate.
our job as HomeBase is to possibly provide assistance with making sure that the client can be self-sufficient, right? And
Stability.
not enter or re-enter shelter, or remain in their apartments, and so on and so forth. So we provide referrals for them to try to seek employment, go to a training to see if they can do the CNA program, or something that'll provide them the stability that they need so that they don't fall into this bracket of risk of homelessness again, pretty much.
Yeah, thank you for that. I guess I'll turn it back to Tiara. Oh,
No, it's
we
more
had a
questions
couple last
coming.
questions.
I see two more.
Um, okay. If a client's documents are given to a specialist, does that mean that they're eligible?
Well, the only way the housing specialist would receive a referral for a housing packet to be submitted is if they are eligible for services and for that subsidy.
Got it. That makes sense. And how long does it take for a good cause transfer to be approved and allow the client to start their search for a new apartment?
A good cost transfer, honestly speaking, on a good day, it can take probably 24 hours. On a bad day, maybe 72 hours.
Wow.
And that depends. We have a good liaison with the PCS team who tries to review and get these good cost transfers approved, within a good time frame, so that this way it doesn't back up. Lately, we've had a lot, and when I say a lot, is a lot of good cost transfer requests.
Mm.
Especially more so when these amounts increased.
Sorry, when you say when the amounts
The
increase,
city FEPS and the FEPS rental assistance amounts for the family size, the max rent levels, they have increased maybe about 3 times within the past 3 years.
okay, and then that causes the tenant to request to move again, or?
Probably. Oh, I can probably get a better apartment. I'll be honest with you, I oversee the housing team right now, so I am fully aware of how many people come in for the transfers, how many applications are processed, and so on and so forth. And once they see that that rent amount went up and they know that these landlords are charging the amounts that they're charging, they're saying, okay, well, then I can get a transfer. We also have clients who are approved for FEPS to stay or city FEPS to stay. And 3 months down the line, they come back to us saying they want to transfer. Unfortunately, we're not able to do that because the city just paid the amount, unless if they're, a DV case or if they're not living in habitable conditions or whatever the case might be. However, right now they have to wait for at least a good year before they request a good cause transfer.
So what you said just reminded me of another thing I'd wondered about. So I know domestic violence is a cause of housing issues for so many people. And I feel like I'd seen that domestic violence history or a current situation could affect somebody's eligibility for city FEPS or maybe just for home-based services in general. Would you be able to maybe explain that a little bit?
I don't
Or,
think it.
or
Go
sorry,
ahead.
is domestic violence a consideration when it comes to the city FEPS voucher or?
Well, example, a client comes in and it's a families with children and they're facing some type of DV. We'll assess to see what we can possibly do, but we also do refer out to Family Justice Center. Should they not be eligible for city FEPS, we'll see if maybe the Family Justice Center would deem them eligible so that they can obtain the FEPS B voucher, which is FEPS, but this way that we can provide them with the shopping letter so that they can begin their apartment search.
And FEPS B means FEPS voucher to move?
Yeah,
Okay,
they would be able to move.
thank you.
And then if they have a subsidy program, if they have city FEPS and they're facing DV, this is a case that we put as priority so that this way we can begin processing a good cost transfer for them to move. And if they have FEPS, we do the same thing. And we do ask them questions such as, are they working with a DV agency or a provider or something that can provide them with help, or if they feel safe in their homes. We try to figure these type of things out.
Thank you. That's very important to know. I guess, Tiara, do you want to
Yeah,
jump in?
yeah. Okay, well, thank you so much, Melissa. Julissa, I know she had to jump off and
Yeah, she was
attend to
going
a
on to
prior,
another.
yeah, another presentation. But thank you so much for this informative and beneficial presentation. And thank you for all of your work that you do at HomeBase. Once again, thank you to all the participants for joining us today. We have regular workshops and presentations. Um, we have an upcoming presentation on deregulation risk for rent stabilized tenants after 2019. That presentation is scheduled for March 29th and it's from 3 to 5. You can check our website out and subscribe to our newsletter for future workshops and other presentations. And with that being said, take care and have a great evening. Thank you so much, Melissa.
Thank you, everybody. Have a good day.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Take care.